Well, we got, hey, the gang's all here.
Hey, the gang's all here.
Right? Man,
Yep.
I get to surround myself with beautiful women again. And I love it. Yeah. And I don't even leave the comfort of my own home. Right? What time?
You're a lucky man, Kurt.
I am or unlucky. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it.
You're the best.
The best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I always tell myself that.
I always do.
I'm glad you recognize it in me too.
Love your work.
And he's such a humble man.
He is, isn't he?
Well, they say that this coronavirus, it kind of makes you lose some of your mind. They're saying that might be one. They're saying that you lose your sense of smell and taste, and you start losing your mind. And I thought, all right, I must be infected. I'm just going to use that as my excuse.
No, you need a different excuse.
Too funny.
Yeah, that's my excuse today. That's my excuse today. So
okay.
And yeah, we got a couple more minutes, so tell us what it's like down there in Australia right now. I know you and I were talking earlier, Karen. What happened today when you woke up?
Well, I realized today that we're in full lockdown till the 19th of May.
19th of May.
Yeah, not fun. I'm a hugger and an extrovert, so this is painful.
Normal life for me.
So,
I just sit here.
What does full lockdown mean?
Means if you're an essential worker, so you are in the medical world, you're a cleaner, you're in the food industry, you're allowed out. But basically, other than that, we're not really supposed to go out other than for an hour to go and do a walk or exercise, something like that. So for me, this is really hard because the beach is 45-minute drive away, and I don't really want to take that chance because I did read that the fines were like $13,300. So we're not allowed. You have to remain 1.5 meters apart, otherwise they will fine you. So that's in place now. But yeah, just pretty much not allowed out unless you need essential items. So
yeah, that's how we are here in Michigan too.
Yeah.
Same for us. So I think we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
But if you go half an hour south of me down here in South Dakota, wide open, do whatever you want.
They don't have any cases there, right?
Huh?
Not yet.
They don't have any
cases. I think the bars are closed.
I find it interesting that the cannabis store and the government liquor stores are open here. It's like such an essential.
Yeah.
I've got a supply downstairs. I'm good to go.
Yeah, liquor stores are open up here too in North Dakota. I think that's pretty much wide open. But even those are closed in Australia now, aren't they?
All the pubs are closed, but I think, and I did hear that the stores, the alcohol stores would be closed, but you could get it online. I'm not actually sure of that though, because I haven't
online. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Delivery. They'll deliver it to you.
Yeah, like yours, right?
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that. So, well, all right. It's top of the hour, and we've wasted a little bit of time talking about things, and not really wasted time, but people want to know what's happening in the rest of the world.
Right.
Because this is scary. It's scary. And yeah. Did you know, on Tuesday, Andrea, when we did the doctor's call and I couldn't get it to stream onto Facebook like we're doing right now tonight? You know why?
No.
Zoom went from 10 million subscribers to 200 million in the last couple of weeks.
200 million.
200 million.
Yeah,
from 10 million to 200 million in a matter of a couple of weeks. They couldn't handle the volume.
Yeah, I even told my daughter to download Zoom so I could have it on the computer. Because if you have just two people on, you can talk all day.
That's right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I said, put it on and I can talk to the grandkids. They can talk to me, you know, and I'll just leave it on all day.
Yeah, I was just talking to my mom today, and I said I'll have to show you how to run Zoom on your little phone because they don't have a computer,
Mhm.
but I'll show her how to run Zoom on her phone, so that we can have Easter dinner together, the whole family.
There you go.
Uh,
But
They were
that's what a
saying,
lot of people are doing. They're looking at that, and so technology. I mean, folks, what was it? 2 weeks ago, we did a training on how to run Zoom. If you don't know
Yep.
how to run Zoom, I was on. I learn how. Go back 2 weeks on the YouTube channel that we have, and or just ask your 14-year-old child or grandchild to help you
Right.
teach you how to do it because they know how. I was on a doctor's call today with a group of doctors, and we were talking about communication with our clients, with our patients, and they said it's such an important time to just stay in communication with everybody. And they said that, and I'm telling all of you this, when you're staying in contact with your distributor force, with your clientele, your customer base, text them
Mhm.
because they're saying right now with just the mass influx of emails, it's like email overload. And what people are doing is they're quickly glancing down their emails. If they open it, they're opening it like that and they're deleting it. They're not even really paying attention to what it says. They're just deleting it. And so emails is kind of going to the wayside, and text messaging is taken over. And so you might find, for everybody that's out there, everybody that's listening to me right now, you might find that I start sending little short texts rather than full emails to you, because that's the future, and I don't want to be a dinosaur.
Finally.
Right. I want
Are
to.
you-
So I'm trying to keep up with my notes here and things like that. I took a bunch of notes today because I thought it was really important. So one of the questions that people keep asking me, and I know the three of you and the other 20 of you that are on the call, everybody that's watching on Facebook, this whole coronavirus thing. We've heard that fulvic acid helps, and stabilized chlorine dioxide helps, and we've heard that different immune boosting products help, and monolaurin helps, and colloidal silver, and all these different things help, right? Fucoidan, it helps. But a lot of people have been asking me, well, what happens once I get the illness?
Mhm.
What happens then? And so I wanted to cover just a little bit before we get into really talking about prospecting. I know it's a little off subject, but it's kind of like one of those TOMA things, top of mind awareness that I feel like I need to cover. And really, so we've heard, if you've been paying attention to any of my posts on Facebook, for those of you that haven't,
No. never
people
do.
who have COPD, people who have high blood pressure, people who have diabetes, people that have heart disease, people that have lung problems, people that have immune issues, they're at higher risk of having severe reactions to this.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to kind of tell you, what's the relationship? How does it all relate? Well, the coronavirus, in order for it to get in your body, it has to attach to a certain cell in your lung. And there's two different types of cells that we're going to talk about. One is a type 1 pneumocyte, and the other one's a type 2 pneumocyte. And the type 1, what that one does is that one is really it's like the microbiome that you and I talk about all the time, Andrea, in the gut.
Uh-huh.
The
Mhm.
healthy bacteria, the mucus layer, right?
Mhm.
That's what the type 1 pneumocytes do in the lungs, is they
Okay.
provide that exterior covering, that barrier. The
Mhm.
type 2 pneumocytes, what they are, and I'm just simplifying this so everybody can kind of get a clear picture, is that they provide what's called a surfactant. And what the surfactant is it's like spraying it down. It's like spraying oil on something. It lubricates it so the parts slip and slide really easily because your lung tissue, the alveoli, right, the cells that exchange the oxygen, right, type 1 pneumocytes are the ones where the oxygen and the carbon dioxide are exchanged with the air, right?
Okay.
The type 2, they're the ones that are responsible for the surfactant. So as the lungs are going in and out, it's the type 2 that keeps the lung tissue from sticking together. And when you have one of those chronic diseases, it affects your immune system. And what it does is it makes it so that your type 2 cells, the type 2 pneumocyte cells, they don't function quite properly. And guess what?
Inflammation.
This I'm just going to call it the C19 virus. It has to attach to the type 2 pneumocyte in order to get into your body. That's the vehicle, that's the bus, that's the train, that's the truck that it takes to get in your body. It can't get in any other way. It's through the type 2 pneumocyte. So folks, I mean, you just learned something new today. That's how it gets in your body. And so when you have one of those chronic diseases, those type 2 pneumocytes aren't functioning properly. Your immune system is down. That virus can get in. And so that's the important of it. So what happens is this, I'm just going to call it this C19. It kills those type 2 cells, those type 2 pneumocyte cells. And what happens is then your body starts sending in an immune response, and the immune response is the interleukins and the cytokines. We've heard people talking about this cytokine storm. And what happens is that it's trying to get rid of this so bad that it overpowers it, and your immune system just doesn't adjust properly. And eventually what happens is that the alveoli in your lungs, they can't get the oxygen exchange. And what ends up happening is that you have this huge dysfunction of oxygen exchange, and all the interleukin and the cytokines cause a ton of inflammation to start happening. Pretty soon you can't breathe, your chest gets heavy and you can't breathe, and what ends up happening is your chest muscles, they start to wear out, they start to fatigue. And that's why people are saying, that's why you see all this stuff about ventilators. Because what the ventilators do is they incubate you, they throw these ventilators in, and the ventilators take the place of your lungs so that you can pump this fresh air in and out. That's why you need the ventilators. That's how it works. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Clear as mud?
No, it makes sense.
Yeah. And so when you see me talking about this and I start saying, okay, what's the relationship with that and anti-aging? And I've looked this stuff up because everything started clicking with me last week, that, okay, you look at the disease, the COPD, the diabetes, the heart disease, the high blood pressure, all that stuff. Guess who has those diseases mostly? Old people. Those are elderly diseases. So I looked it up. It's the top 10 causes of death in the United States. It also happens to be in the top 10 diseases that you get as you're aging when you're elderly. So all of those categories are kind of intertwined together. You see that?
Yeah.
So when I start talking about age reversal, people automatically think, oh, Kurt, how can you be talking about an age reversal at a time like this?
Right.
Well, because a time like this, you need it more than ever, because those are the same diseases that we're trying to fight as anti-aging physicians. We're trying to make a difference on those exact same diseases. We're just having to hit them in younger people.
Yeah.
And when you take a look at it, that's 50% of Americans. High blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, that's half of us. Not just Americans, but Canadians too. Maybe Australians too. Right? But that's why it's so important. So when I start talking about these things, so what do we need to do? Everything that we've ever talked about with anti-aging, it can make a difference. Now, we can't say cure or treat or prevent or anything like that. So if you're from the FDA or the TGA and you watch this program, we're not saying it treats anything. All we're saying is that if you can keep your health optimum.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And if you're a smoker, stop. Right? Like Arnold would say, stop it. Stop smoking. Right? And if you have high blood pressure, don't drink so much coffee. If you have high blood pressure, don't drink that Red Bull. Set it down. Right?
Don't drink that at all, ever.
Well, but you know what I'm saying though, just watch those things, because those are the things that are going to cause these type 2 pneumocytes to have more problems. Right? And so anyhow, that's all I wanted to cover on that, because I thought it was important. I'm going to be on a call next week with one of the top physicians from Yale, and he's going to be talking about this corona really in depth, and he's going to be giving us some things that we can do that we can help everybody even a little bit more, dietary and supplements and things like that. And so I'll be putting together. Actually, they say that they're going to give us a PowerPoint that we're going to be able to use for all of you. It'll be a PowerPoint from these guys, from these top researchers. So I'm looking forward to having that, and I'll share it with everybody on here. So, you know, next week, you know, we'll do that. So anyhow,
well, just a
that's
minute,
my
Doc.
notes.
Just a minute. I have 2 people on my Sizzle team who had CV-19 up in Canada. And she reported to me that they took hydrogen water every day, and she could definitely tell when she didn't take the hydrogen water.
Yep. Because
so
what is the hydrogen? What's the hydrogen? What else? There's hydrogen in there, but what else is in there?
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oxygen.
Yep.
Right? Because you're splitting H and O, you're getting H, you're getting O. Right? And there's a lot of other things too. Hydrogen water helps with inflammation. Fucoidan helps with inflammation. Omega-3s help with inflammation. I mean, man, we could just go on and on and on, right?
Yep.
Right.
So anyhow, I wanted to cover that. So thanks for bearing with me and sticking around with me. And for all of you that are listening, you know, I just, you know, I really look at this thing, you know, I really feel, and I share this with people that I learned early on in my life that, you know, I'm here with a purpose. I'm here to help people live healthier lives, stress-free, pain-free. And so when I share these things, I mean, that's my focus. That's my goal, is that I really want to help people that way. So yeah. So anyhow, let's get on with talking about prospecting.
Okay.
Interesting topic, isn't it? When you get into this business, sometimes you get a little bit nervous about it. And Kieran and I have been doing some role playing this last week. We've been talking about you know, different things on what to say to people, kind of scripts and things like that. And so what she and I thought we'd share tonight is a little bit on some of the role playing, the scripts that we've been doing on what to say to people. If you've got them, you've already got them. They've watched the 13.5-minute video on the business. They already know something about the products, right? And they're you know, they're at that point where you want to kind of close them, right? Because you know, you do need to close them, and so they're at that point. So that's where we're going to be with this role playing. So we're not going to teach you what to say in the beginning or anything like that. But so Karen and I are going to start from that point. So Karen, I'm gonna hand the microphone over to you.
Thank you. Shall we start with let's start with the negative one first. Okay. So Kurt, how would you like to look at an opportunity that I have? You know, we've talked about it before, where the opportunity that we were speaking about the other day, and you know, you're talking that you kind of, you like it, you're a little bit interested, but you may not be for you. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, you know, is this one of those pyramids?
Goes right for the jugular.
He does every time. I'm glad you asked that question, because actually, no, it's not. They're illegal. With our company, we don't do those things. Not at all. That's not us. That's not how.
Yeah,
we
but do
operate.
you make me buy a bunch of stuff that I'm never going to use, and then I have to go get my friends and family to buy the same stuff that they're not going to use?
Absolutely not. So with our company, you'll find that you will actually want to use more products and more products every single month because they're just that amazing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not interested in the business.
That's okay. That's no worries at all. So how about if you're not open to looking at the business, how would you like to access some products then?
Right. So that would be a great way of doing that. And then, I mean, we won't go any further with it, but yeah, you can see how she switches right away. Just drop the business, go for the product, right? And if the person says no, I'm not interested in products, then what would you say, Karen?
Not interested in the products? Oh, now you've got me on the spot. I would say, would you know anybody else? You know, anyone else that I could help?
Yeah. Or if you just want to get out of the room, you just say, hey, you know what? Let's still be friends. I'm not going to try and talk you into this. We'll still go bowling on Saturday night.
That's right. Your friendship's far more important to me. So, let's keep the friendship and move aside.
Yep. So I mean, what do you think, Andrea? Do you think that's just a good way of handling somebody who's negative? I mean, you can shut it down right away, move on.
Yeah, because you can't force people to do anything.
Right.
No.
You just go, like Rennie says, next.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's do another example, Karen. That was fun.
Let's go with a positive, unrealistic one.
All right.
So, no pressure, right? Sounds like you're thinking that you could do this.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Okay, I see what you're saying here. So, in your bank account, how much do you think that you would need to see every month in order to actually get started with us?
I'd have to make $1 trillion.
Really?
Yeah. Why are you laughing?
Because I think that clearly is an unrealistic amount to think that you could make in a business like this.
Well,
so if that's where you're at, that's okay. However, how about we get you started on some products? How about you look at the product, or how about we get you started, with a little bit of a lower income? Is that something you might look at?
Well, I want to make $1 trillion.
Let's talk about products, shall we?
Yeah. You see, I mean, Rennie, what do you think of that? I mean, isn't that the way to go?
What, making $1 trillion?
No. I mean, that's unrealistic. I mean, I might tell somebody,
Yeah.
I might go so far as to say, this isn't the lottery. You didn't just buy the lottery ball and you got the, the lucky 3 numbers.
Yeah, that's right. You got to work this thing.
That's
definitely.
Right. All right, let's try one more.
Let's go with a positive one. Okay, you sound like a positive person. You sound like you have a lot of energy. You're somebody I'd really like to work with. Would you like to work with me?
I think it'd be fun.
That sounds really great. So for you to get started with stop it. For you to get started with us, what would it take a month for you to actually really look at this and say, yeah, I want to do it?
I'd probably have to make $4,000 or $5,000 a month.
That's doable. That's absolutely doable. That's a great answer. Then I would say, how about we get you started on the business side of it?
Yeah. Okay.
Sweet. Let's make
but
a time
now,
later on.
So the next question you should have asked, or remember when we were doing this, the next question you should ask is, because you got to qualify that, right? Because you got to find out if they're realistic. What if I'm thinking I can make $4,000 a month next month?
Yes, that's right. Yes. When would you like to make that by?
Right. Well, first, I think I would ask, how much time can you put into it?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, okay, Kurt, you want to make $4,000 a month. How much time are you willing to devote to it?
Yeah.
You know, and
How
so
much
if I
time
say,
do you devote to this?
if I tell you, you know, oh, I could give you 2 hours a day.
That's good. 2 hours every day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now I'm in lockdown. I have nothing better to do.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Right. And then, so then the next question that you already asked me, then you say, you know, at working 2 hours a day, realistically, how long do you think it would take?
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, again, Randy, I mean, put you on the spot there. What do you think? You think those are good questions to ask people?
I think it's a good question. Absolutely. One question that you could add to that is let's sit down and look at some numbers as to what you can get on your initial investment that show you how you.
Yeah, we're not even there yet. Yeah, we're not even there yet.
Yeah.
Yep. You're getting ahead of the game, right? These are just kind of those questions to push him off the fence, right? He's tottering and you want to push him off the fence, right? You want to find out if he's realistic, if he's, you know, somebody that, I mean, if I would have answered Karen and I would have said, yeah, I can give you 15 minutes a day.
Yeah, no thanks.
Well, I think you can take it back to them as, do you think that's realistic?
That's
The goal you have is, you know,
Yeah.
as long as you're asking the question, you're the one in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
So Bob said he gets a lot of people that are just kind of negative. And Bob, that's what Karen and I were trying to cover a little bit there. And I've talked to a couple other people about this week as well. The answer to that, when I was in my chiropractic clinic, a lot of people don't have a warm, fuzzy feeling about chiropractors, right? Only about 20% of people, the population, go to chiropractors. The other 80% don't come and see us. And a lot of it is because they've heard something negative, like, oh, once you go to a chiropractor, you have to keep going back. Oh, it's not covered by my insurance. Oh, this or that, right? And I decided way back 30 years ago, the way I was going to handle that was I was going to ask them to tell me all their negatives right up front. Because if you ask it, they can't bring it up because you already did. You own it. You own that part of the conversation now. So if I say to Andrea, I say, hey, Andrea, have you ever heard anything negative about network marketing? Before we go any further, what have you heard?
Oh yeah, I've heard, you know, it's a pyramid scheme and nobody can make any money in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd like you to listen to a couple of audios that we have on a video that we did. It's 13 and a half minutes long. And I'd like you to listen to those 5 women on there that tell you differently.
Okay.
You know, with minimal time, they were making money to the point to where they were going, holy cow, this works. And they were putting in minimal time into it. And as far as it being a pyramid, you know what? Really, isn't everything really kind of a pyramid? You look at even religion. You got God, and then you got the church, and then you got the congregation, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it a pyramid? You look at the government, any government, right? It doesn't matter if it's a dictator or a queen or you know, or a president. You got the president, you got the cabinet, you got, you know, like that, right? Until you get down to we the people. And so they're all kind of pyramids. So, I mean, I don't look at that as being really a negative thing. But let me ask you this, Andrea. Whenever somebody brings that up, usually it means that they've had something bad happen to them. Tell me your story. Or wait, let me tell you my story first. My horror story. I've got a couple. And then we'll have you tell your story, and we'll see who's got a worse story. Right. And you see how now you took that away from them. They can't use that as ammunition anymore. You see that, Bob? Does that make sense? And now all of a sudden the ammunition, because if they bring it up again, you go, wait, we handled that already. We handled that already. You know, if somebody says to me, oh, you know, what about shipping costs? Oh, the shipping costs to get from the United States to Australia is way too expensive. You know how I handle that? Well, how about free? Is free okay?
Yes.
Is free okay? Karen, if the products were free to ship to you, would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Boom. Problem solved, right? You solve the problem. Be ready to handle all the problems. Like if Andrea says the pyramid thing, and then I say anything else, and I want to get her to name everything. Get her to name every negative thing that she can think of. Get them out of the way, because now they can't bring it up again because you already handled it. You can just say, "Oh yeah, I already handled that."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so like what you and Karen have been doing is you practice that, like figure out all the negative stuff, have an answer for it, and run around your house saying it out loud so it just flows off your lips. Like as soon as you need it, it's right there.
Yep. And ask people and just say, just tell them, just say, hey, I'm just practicing right now, so I really don't want to sign you up. I'm not gonna let you sign up anyhow.
Yeah.
Right?
You can't
Right?
join
But I
me.
just need somebody to practice with. Can you tell me all the negative you've ever heard about network marketing or the pyramid scheme, right? And you use the word so they can't,
Yeah.
right? You use it, now they can't, right? Like I used to say that to people. I say, what have you heard about us back crackers? Right? And like Karen and I were talking about this afternoon, after you ask a question, what if the person you're asking the question just sits there? What do you do?
You mirror
Karen,
them.
you know the right answer. Give them the right answer. What are you supposed to do if somebody doesn't answer your question?
You say nothing.
Say nothing.
Right.
Wait,
You do
right? Because
exactly
the
what
person
they're
that
saying.
talks next loses the conversation.
That's right.
Mhm.
Very powerful, right? And then you can learn some other little tricks, like if somebody looks up to the right, it means something. If they look up to the left, it means something. If they look to the right, if they look to the left, if they look down, they all mean different cues that you can use on the words that you choose to use with them.
Yeah.
So all these little things, and I'll put together some more stuff. Well, I think this is an important topic, so maybe we should cover this maybe once a month for a while. And I mean, right now, I mean, holy cow, people, we have free membership,
I know.
right? I mean, if you got a fence sitter right now, you call them up and you go, guess what, Bob? I'm going to pick on you again, Bob, both of you. And you're going to say, guess what, Bob? Last month you didn't want to join because you said you didn't want to spend that $30 as a membership fee. Guess what? It's free. What's your excuse now?
Right.
Right? And sometimes you say things like that, like Kieran and I were talking about. Sometimes you throw in a little bit of shock value on how you say it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it, in a way, that shock value gets them to take their guard down just a little bit.
Yeah.
And you want to take their guard down because everybody's got this wall in front of them. Oh, don't get too close. Don't try and sell me none of that. I'm not buying.
Stay 6 feet away.
6 feet away, right? I still get right up in your face on the internet.
Right.
All right. So Andrea, I'm going to hand the microphone over to you.
Well, I think a phrase that I heard pretty much sums it up. Bloom where you're planted. Bloom where you're planted. So we all have our own interests and things that inspire us in life. And so we make connections with people through those things. You might belong to a club. You might have a Facebook page where you share, let's say, recipes or something like that, and you've created a following. So wherever it is that you have combined with other people or developed a following for yourself, and some people actually have businesses. You may own a hair salon and you have tons of clientele that way. You may be a chiropractor like Doc is, and you have patients that way. So we all have these connections in life. So if we just utilize that, if you have a following, say on Facebook for any other thing, sewing, cooking, conspiracy stuff, whatever it might be, those people are influenced by you. you know, and so then all you have to do is slowly introduce it. Typically, I approach people in a private message. I don't throw a lot of information out on the internet, you know, just for people to pick up and discard or anything like that. I try to engage in a private discussion with them. And so if you just think about all of those different places that you might be involved in, maybe you aren't the leader of a group, but yet there are lots of people in that group, and it has nothing to do with business or health or anything like that. It's just a group that you're involved in. You can also do that. Be friends. I made about 40 friends in one of my groups in just the last 2 days. So you just make the connections where you already have connections, and then build on them.
That's right. You know, interestingly, for everybody that's listening, Andrea and I met through one of her chat rooms.
Yes, we did. The one that I just added 40 people to.
Right? I joined it and I said, hey, I said, we got a lot of things in common. You should come take a look what I got over here.
Yep.
And here you are.
And you were invited into my group by someone else. Some
Was
other
that
like-minded. Right? Well, yeah, we didn't know each other, so I didn't invite you in. I made that group and I told people to go invite their friends if they wanted them to connect to the information that we were sharing. And that's how
we won't tell
in.
what kind of what group it is and what the subject is or anything like that, because, you know, we don't want, you know, all that stuff. But I mean, we found something that you had in common. You created a group. So if you go on, like, let's say that you like pug-nosed dogs, start a pug-nosed dog group on Facebook and just start getting everybody else that likes pug-nosed dog to join your group. And all of a sudden you'll find that you have something in common. Maybe it's something that you have in common that you both hate, right? Doesn't matter, right? I mean, like if somebody said, oh, God, I hate this cold weather. I go, I hate it too.
Right.
I don't ever have to go outside unless I want to, but I hate it too. It's 69 degrees in here all the time. So, Rennie, we'll go up to the Great White North in Canada.
Yeah, and it's cold here. We had enough snow that I had to shovel the driveway this morning too, and yeah, spring showers in British Columbia. So yeah, this is an interesting topic because you know I like to use social media, and I do. I use Facebook and I use LinkedIn. I've got a lot of connections, probably about 5,000 on LinkedIn. So as I've said before, our business is not about selling products, or even though like our business is our best product. It's really about building relationships. So, and I do like working cold market. It's, you know, I just think that in some ways it might take longer, but in some ways I think it's easier than the warm market of your friends and family. My friends and family know what I'm doing. So if they come to me, it's different because I've been in network marketing in the wellness sector about 25 years. So, and I think a lot of us experience, you know, we expect friends and family as soon as we join a business to rally around us and join too. That is not how you're going to make your $1 million, because they're not. It'll be very rare that you have that happen to you. So again, it's engaging in conversation. I find doing things like always wishing them happy birthday and these sorts of things. Always, you know, you build that relationship over time. Any of the people that I have brought into most of my businesses, I didn't initially know. Anybody I've brought in Australia or New Zealand, I met on social media. So, and also I know the question is, well, how do you meet people? How do you, I certainly don't just friend everybody. That's like throwing it against the wall and hoping something's going to stick. For example, on Facebook, you're limited to 5,000 connections. So you want to qualify people. I mean, we all end up with people on our Facebook page that we know aren't going to do anything, you know, regardless of what that is. And certainly you can keep some as friends, but there is that, you know, on that section that often pops up about people you may know. Have you ever sort of moved that along? And I mean, I'm always looking for people, or you can move it along. You'll see somebody and then it might say 14 friends in common. If you put your cursor there, that'll open up and list the friends you have in common. So I always private message for this. And I just think that's social media etiquette. And I always, if I reach out to them, it's, you know, hi, how, you know, and their name, how are you? I noticed that, or your profile keeps popping up to me, that you should be somebody I'm connected with. Perhaps it's because we have quite a few friends in common. And so hope to chat soon. You know, if they don't see it for a while and they haven't opened that up, I might put something on their page saying, you know, hey, have you seen the messages I sent you, or have we got a tech glitch? Asking that question. You're always safe with questions. You know, they aren't going to feel that you're shoving something on. And I never just start like, you know, hi, how are you? You know, I've got this great opportunity. You know, how do you like me so far? I mean, you are, you know, that's not how to do it.
So hey, what do you, I just got to say this, Randy. How about if you see somebody's comment and they just make a totally off the wall comment that totally, it's just exactly opposite of how you feel. Andrea, you know what I'm talking about. And you're a thinker over here and they're thinking over here. And you just make a remark on their comment and you say, you know, I think you're just crazy. You're nuts. But then they turn around and friend you.
Well, again, qualifying, it's qualifying your people too. I mean, maybe the guy's a real nutcase, you know. And it's easy. A lot of people find that they get a lot of people that are just looking to date on Facebook, or they're just, you know, I can usually tell if an account's a fake account. Mm-hmm. And I think like Andrea, you know this too, it becomes very noticeable when somebody friends you and the account's fake, and yeah, just delete them, block them if you need to, if they keep, you know, coming back to you. So yeah, it takes time, but I think it all boils down to building that relationship, looking for people that you have similar interests in, asking those questions, you know, again, like what Karen and Doc were talking about is, would you be open to, is a good line, you know, would you be open? And right now, boy, I mean, it's not just the timing in Australia, New Zealand, with that being the hot market, but we can really leverage off this virus. You know, there are people, I've got a doctor friend, actually, he attended the Sydney event, and we've been friends for years. And I mean, he's a doctor, he's got a clinic, and he also lectures. You know what his business is doing now? Dick. So of course I'm talking to him like I am, you know, yeah, he's got a lot of time on his hands. So I'm just moving that along. And I did ask him, I says, you know, I ask you if you're interested, because his response to Doc's presentation was very interesting. That's what he said when I asked him. But he hasn't started using product yet. I'm sort of just slowly moving him along. And now the virus occurs, and his conventional business, even with all the years of his training and all the money it took to get him there, there's nothing happening there.
Nothing happening.
So it's like, I mean, you don't want to say, well, I told you so. You know, you could have been in a couple of years ago and have a really comfortable income by now, of course. But you know, I am sorry to hear that. It is just like, so at this point, at this juncture, he's got some things to take care of, but he's there.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. All right. Well, we've used up a half an hour. Rennie, good tips on what you're doing. And I know you go all the way across the ocean and do a lot of prospecting all across the ocean. And Andrea, you do a lot right in your own backyard and across the nation. You don't do so much international. Canada, but that's a stone throw away from your house. But you know, so you're doing that, and so good tips on what you're doing. You know, social media. You heard both Rennie and Andrea talking about social media. That's a hot place to go. A lot of people, especially right now with this virus being around, everybody's on social media. They're spending time there. You know, texting is the hot thing. Learn how to text. If you don't know how to text, get one of your grandchildren to show you how to text. And get into it. Get into doing the video conferencing so that you can talk. FaceTime or Zoom or there's just so many different platforms that you can use for the video conferencing. It's not like you remember that TV show called Max Headroom. I think it was sponsored by Coca-Cola, but it was like in the mid 80s, and it was like a TV show, and some guy had video conferencing, and you know, whenever he moved, it was just a big blur across the TV screen. And but that was the original video conferencing. I remember those video conference phones. That's how old I am. Tells you about that, but. You know, we can really build a business right now, and the platform really is on the internet, online, going out and communicating with people, like Rennie said, building that relationship, like Karen is finding out, learning what to say, how to respond to people. Watch and video is almost as good as being face to face.
Yeah.
Yep.
The nice thing about it is if they cough on you, you don't get sick.
Truly.
Right. And so you can communicate with people that way. And like if I'm talking to Karen and she looks up to the right, I know that she's digging back in her memory banks and she's thinking of a visual memory, something that she can see. It happened to her before. So I'm going to say something. If I see her looking up to the right, I'm going to say, you know, do you see yourself doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If she's looking down to the left, I'm going to say, so what do you think? Because when you look down to the left, you're doing some critical thinking, right? If you look down to the right, you're doing kind of some analytical thinking. You're kind of putting it together. You're going, well, what if I did this? What if I did that? So you might say to them, you say, well, let's get out a piece of paper and let's just draw out how this works, right? Because they're already thinking that way. You caught it. When you asked them what they thought, they looked down here to the right and to the lower, right? If they look straight sideways, you know, when they're thinking, they're thinking auditory, right? They're thinking about that song that they heard, right? And you go, so, you know, do you hear me? You hear what I'm saying? Right? And you start using words that fit what they told you, little visual clues on what you're doing. And all of a sudden you can start kind of closing more people as you do it. Right? All good stuff, isn't it?
Good stuff.
Yeah, you just have to remember when you're video conferencing, when they look down to the left, they're really looking down to the right.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
But if they're looking down to the left or looking down to the right, they're in each case they're still thinkers, right? If they're looking up, they're visual. If they're looking sideways, they're auditory. If they're looking down, then they're thinkers. So even if you get that wrong, left, right, you're still okay.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yep, you're still okay. You'll survive. You'll survive. And, you know, and the thing about it is, you know, like I was reading some of Robert Kiyosaki's stuff this morning. I always like to read up on Robert Kiyosaki. You know, he's good, rich dad, poor dad, you know, that dude. And he was saying that, you know, right now is a perfect time for entrepreneurs here in the United States. I mean, our government has set aside money in the stimulus package, and I see people posting things on Facebook that say, "Oh, we're giving it all to businesses." Well, you know, the thing is that businesses hire people,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all in business. All four of us are all in business. All 28 of us that are on this call right now are in business, right? If you're in the United States, you could actually apply for some of that money. And if you had $1 million in payroll next month, as long as you use the money that you get from the government to make payroll, you don't have to pay it back. As long as you can prove that it all went to payroll, you don't have to pay it back. That's the advantage of being an entrepreneur, a business owner, right? And we're all here. Everybody that's on the call, all 28 of us, that's where you're at. And I know down in Australia, they probably have some incentives for you down there too. Find out from your accountant if there's any stimulus money for you guys. There is here. Canada, you guys, I think I heard Canada even has better. Oh, Katie said, yes, there's lots of money down in Australia. Right? So you've got a business. This is your business. This is your $1 million business, right? And so, and Jenny, yes, she said heaps of stimulus in Oz, right? And so don't let that pass you by. This is your opportunity. This is why you started a business, to take advantage of it. The government is giving away $250 billion in Australia. Kieran, that's money you can get. That's money that you can get. This is your business. This is a business. You're a business owner. You're an entrepreneur. Take advantages of that. You're not just an employee anymore. You're not just an employee, right? Katie says they're paying all minimum wage earners who lost their jobs $750 a week for 6 months. So on top of that, of giving the money to the business so they can make payments to their employees, they're paying the employees. So I don't want to get into all that. That goes down another rabbit hole. But you know, I'm going to let you, you three beautiful women, you can close out the call. And thanks for being with me. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here every night. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.